Hi, Annalisa Six here with the March 2023 horoscope for the sign of Taurus, rising and sun. Well, let's get started here. I'm feeling a little insecure about my makeup and hair because I did a terrible job. So, Taurus, I know you guys are naturally very good at aesthetics. Please don't judge me. I'm not having one of those weeks where I can get it together. So, looking at the horoscope for Taurus, this is a really interpersonally focused month for you because we have a lot of energy in the sign of Aries. And for the horoscope chart of a Taurus, the area that this is hitting for the Taurus horoscope is super introspective. This is a really positive time. I mean, most Taurus dominant people that I know are very artistically inclined. And so the area where all this Aries energy is happening is really positive for exploring more of that, exploring more of your artistic nature, getting really clear on the things that kind of ignite you, make you feel more connected to your spirituality and your imagination, and kind of more of this creative energy that Taurus people tend to really enjoy and thrive in. A couple other themes of this that's happening. So we have a bunch of celestial energy for the first half of March in Aries. The two major energies in Aries for the first half of March are Venus and Jupiter, which are making a conjunction tomorrow on March 2nd. And then we also have Vesta, Juno, and Chiron all in Aries as well. And so essentially, with this stellium in Aries, we as a collective have this opportunity to really reflect inwards on who we are, what our relationship is to ourselves and our identity, and then how we cultivate confidence and strength in pushing who we are forward in a way in our lives that's really constructive and positive. And for people that have this amount of fire energy dominant in this area of where the horoscope is for Taurus horoscope individuals, issues around anger and repressed anger also come up on the docket. So if you're somebody that has suppressed a lot of your emotions and you don't have a healthy relationship with your emotions, this energy in Aries and where it's hitting might bring a lot of that stuff up. It might kind of make you feel like you're just a ticking time bomb that's ready to go off. And for you, it might be really healthy for you to find constructive ways to express your anger that isn't hurtful to yourself or others, which is sometimes easier said than done, because I think when we think about expressing anger, I think, at least for me, I don't want to say this is for other people, but I think the way that our culture kind of looks at anger, there's almost like just one side of it that I feel like we get shown, which is yelling, screaming, being destructive, being violent. I think that we see anger sometimes as violent. And I think that one of the things that we can learn, especially from Aries, is ways that anger can be used as a catalyst. And so it's kind of that thing where, like, determination, right? Drive, ambition almost feels like the same spectrum of energy that anger can live within. So I have a lot of Aries people in my life, and my husband's an Aries. And one of the things that I feel like I really learned from him was how he uses his anger as a catalyst. If he feels stifled in his life, or if he feels like he's not moving forward in the ways that he wants to, it makes him really mad. But instead of him being destructive or hurtful, he just gets like determined. Like he's just like, I am going to conquer that mountain and I am going to master it. And I'm, by golly, like, I'm going to freaking do that. I'm trying not to cuss because I really like cussing. But I mean, that's another way you can express your anger, right? It's cussing. But, I think that with this Aries energy, it's important for you to ask yourself, are you able to express your anger in a constructive way that is a catalyst for you? So you're releasing it without destruction. And sometimes we don't know how to do that if it wasn't modeled to us. And so for me, a lot of times I think it's positive, especially for a Taurus person, to find ways to get energy moving out of the body that is empowering to you. I always think people do really well with working out. Like if especially Taurus being like such a sturdy, strong kind of energy, like strength exercises, like core or strength or weightlifting, like that kind of stuff can be really positive for Taurus. Even just going on a walk to release some of that energy. I know if I'm angry, if I just go on a walk, sometimes it's just all that I need to kind of get it out, and connecting with nature is really positive for Taurus. But you know, some people will say that journaling or talking it out is really constructive. It really depends on how you yourself are wired. But having so much Aries energy here, we could be healing some feelings around the way that we deal with anger, specifically in that Taurus chart. Another big theme is our relationship to our spirituality and how we connect to spirit. And that means different things for different people in terms of how we contextualize it. But I think that the actual energy field of spirit is pretty much the same for everybody. Like, I think the way that we logically define it is different, right? Or dogmatically define it is different. But there's a universal energy that we're all connected to, right? Vibrational energy that we're all connected to. And I think that where this is hitting in the Taurus chart, it's a really positive time for you to connect to whatever that energy means to you, whether it's a scientific approach or it's a spiritual woo-woo approach. I don't think it really matters. It's more getting clear on how do I connect to more of that ethereal kind of feeling in a way that grounds me and makes me feel connected to source and helps me work through my emotions. And I think another kind of quality about Taurus that this Aries energy might help kind of break apart is Taurus, you know, is kind of known for being a little stubborn and stonewalling and shutting down. And I think that Aries is a little bit more about cracking through and moving forward and kind of charging ahead. And so if you feel yourself hardening or stonewalling, it's good to explore that and figure out, but how do I move past that? How do I move ahead? How do I release that? How do I let go of it? And how do I kind of clear some space? Because if we stonewall without clearing and moving ahead or releasing, it just stays in the body. And then that manifests into health issues and ailments. And, you know, I have a bunch of health issues right now. So I'm definitely somebody that's going through that, where my perception sometimes is that I'm healing and working through stuff, and sometimes I'm holding stuff in my body that I'm not aware that I'm holding. And so that could also be a theme for you with Aries energy hitting in the Taurus horoscope chart. So we're not going to have Aries energy with certain planets the whole month, but we are going to have a lot of Aries energy in March, because we start out March in Pisces season and then we end March in Aries season. So happy birthday to all of our, you know, Pisces, Aries people. But, you know, when we enter Aries season, that's going to be on the 20th of March. And we're also going to have Mercury moving into Aries the day before that. So once we kind of move out of one energy of Aries, we're back in more Aries energy. So again, like finding ways to express your anger is going to be really healthy. Your perspective on yourself is going to be a really big focus this month. So you might feel really introverted this month. You might just feel like you need to kind of get away from everybody and just focus on yourself and cultivating the best version of yourself. And that's definitely supported. If you're also reflecting a lot on certain belief systems, spiritual belief systems you have, while that's not like, I mean, that is a theme this month with some of the other transits. It might be elevated for you this month with where it's hitting in the horoscope chart. So let's talk about Mercury. So Mercury, we start out with Mercury in Aquarius. And for you, that's an energy that's been really powerful, and you kind of questioning and asking yourself, you know, who do you associate with? Who do you kind of align yourself with when it comes to your work and your social circles? And so you've probably been kind of thinking about that over the last, you know, few weeks. And then by March 3rd, Mercury is going to be moving into Pisces. And so again, like we might feel kind of like this need to connect with our community or connect with people that make us feel inspired and creative. This is a positive time to explore your creativity. But again, we have so much energy that's pulling into like more of the personal, you know, self-focused area, that even with some of that desire to connect, we're still kind of, you know, wanting to close ourselves off a little bit. But you might feel a little bit social by the end of the month, you'll probably start feeling a little more introverted again. So it's kind of an interesting thing going on for Taurus in that way. Mars is going to be in Gemini still up until the 25th. And then the area of the chart that Mars is going to be entering when it moves into Cancer for Taurus has a lot to do with your communication. And so again, like if you're kind of having to work through being vulnerable and being more open and honest about what you're thinking and feeling, a lot of that stuff's going to come up when Mars moves into Cancer. And so again, that's at the end of the month. So, you know, Mars in Cancer, it can take things personally. Cancer in general can take things personally in a way sometimes that's extreme, like not to diminish, you know, certain aspects of Cancer being empathic and nurturing, but sometimes, you know, Cancer has an ability to get their feelings hurt really easily. And so having Mars in the house of communication can kind of make those things happen more often or more frequently, and can kind of trigger certain things that you're not normally as bothered by. Like maybe if you're used to kind of just not being emotionally affected and just letting things roll off, and, you know, again, kind of putting off this energy that you're not actually affected by things, you're going to have a harder time doing that this month. It's going to come out. Like it's definitely likely to boil over and come out. So those are things to just be kind of mindful of. And it might be constructive for you to find some ways to practice being more vulnerable about how you feel, and, you know, observing your feelings versus always reacting on them. But then finding a way to still express it, if that makes sense. I think self-expression of emotions is not the same as reacting with emotions. And I think that a lot of people don't see that. They see them as the same, whereas we can have an emotional reaction that is sometimes bigger than what we actually logically feel or think. And we can not react. We can suppress a reaction through wisdom or maturity and knowing that our reaction is not appropriate, but still express the feeling without having the emotional reaction. And I think a lot of people don't know how to do that. So they see it either or. They're like, either I'm going to have this huge emotional reaction and express myself, or I'm not going to have one at all. And you have to find that balance. You have to find, my emotions are valid, even if they're not necessarily the way somebody else feels or perceives it. My dog is sneezing. My emotions are valid, but I don't necessarily need to have a freak out, but I can still cry and express myself without having the freak out. Water signs, we get that. People that suppress emotions, it all just looks the same. So exploring that spectrum is really supported during that time, even though it's still going to be a little hard to navigate. Saturn's also entering Pisces this month. And so again, like you're going to be thinking a lot about the social circles that you surround yourself with and the people that you surround yourself with, and whether or not you're in alignment with that. And if, you know, you're around people that inspire you creatively to be better. So you might feel kind of this pull this month to be surrounded more by people that inspire you. I think for some people in recovery, this could be a time where you could find yourself with people that are really fun to be around, that support your spirituality and the way you're growing. Or if you're somebody that's still currently struggling with substance abuse, you might end up around people that are not good influences for you during this time, where you're learning some hard lessons and having to find ways to separate yourself from that. Saturn's going to be in Pisces starting this month until 2024. So you have a good 2.5 years to, I'm sorry, it's going to be there till 2025, but you have some good time to really kind of focus on surrounding yourself with people that you want to be surrounded by, essentially. Pluto is also entering Aquarius, and it's going to be doing the dance back and forth between Capricorn and Aquarius for the rest of the year, but it's going to be in Aquarius for the next 21 years. And so, again, like your career and what you're doing with your life in a big way is going to be going through a big transitional period over the next 20 years. So there's not a lot more to say about that outside of just looking at what we're going through collectively, which I talked about in the March 2023 forecast. Another transition that's happening that I didn't get too into is that Venus, the planet that is your ruler, is going to be entering your sign of Taurus on the 17th. And that's such a positive energy for you in terms of just working on your self-acceptance and self-love. It's a really good time for you to kind of start really trying to hone in on seeing yourself as worthy of the things that you want and kind of falling in love with your life again. And Juno, which is the asteroid of marriage, is also going to be in Taurus around the same time that Venus is entering Taurus. I think it enters Taurus a little bit before, but the two planets that represent relationship are going to be in Taurus, which is really positive. So you might feel like you want to change something about the way that you look. You might feel more like your aesthetics matter more. You might feel a really big desire to do acts of self-love during the last half of March, and that's really supported for you. So talking about where the full moon and the new moon are going to hit for the Taurus individual, we have a full moon on March 7th at 16 degrees of Virgo. And, you know, Virgo is a really positive energy for Taurus. It's the mutable earth energy. It makes a trine to Taurus. It's really grounding and good energy. This is a great time to kind of clean house, get rid of things that you don't need. Where this is hitting for the Taurus individual is going to be in the area of your self-expression. And so I'm a Leo, and I basically, like, my entire sun sign is all about self-expression and building confidence. Like, that's what Leo loves to do. We love to express ourselves. We love to help other people express themselves. We like to cheerlead. We're really into that kind of stuff. We love being playful. We like connecting with joy and our inner child. And that's essentially what this full moon is igniting for the Taurus individual. And so it's really good for you to set intentions around being more playful, more don't take things so seriously. I think Taurus people have great senses of humor, but sometimes, you know, there's that serious side to the Scorpio Taurus polarity that can be really moody and very serious about the work that you're doing, but learn to laugh. You know, Aquarius and Leo are the other axis of the fixed signs. And while we can definitely have big egos and take, you know, we can take things personally and get our feelings hurt too and be a little too serious, Aquarius and Leo are more of the you know, kind of joyful, social, laughable energies on the fixed axis. So this is a good time to kind of take a page out of that book and find ways to create daily routines in your life or things in your life that make you happy and promote good health. But, you know, joy is just as much a part of our health, right, than even just some of our routines. So that's a really positive thing for Taurus to manifest or set intentions with on that full moon in Virgo on March 7th. So that's in 7 days. On March 21st, we have a new moon in Aries at 0 degrees Aries. And so again, this is an area of the chart for the Taurus individual that has to do with that self-confidence, connection to spirituality, and repression of emotions or anger. And so the new moon in Aries on the 21st, you know, coming the day after the spring equinox, shines a light on this area of like how you're expressing yourself and connecting to yourself in this deeper way. And so you might set intentions on this new moon around your confidence and your ability to work through problems and anger in a way that promotes healthy practices in your subconscious, your deeper part of yourself. This is a really good time. This month of March is a really good time for the Taurus individual to work on healing internal karmic wounds around identity and around spirituality. And so getting more in touch with that side of yourself and in a deep way is really positive for you. And just finding ways to laugh things off and cultivate more joy is also really positive. And reflecting on, you know, how you express emotions and, you know, do you take things personally at times where you don't need to? Do you stonewall? Are you really, you know, what's your relationship to your emotions? What's your relationship to crying? What's your relationship to anger? Are you able to safely express your anger in your relationships? If not, you know, why? You know, I think that, again, like people that have a hard time expressing anger might have past experiences where maybe they didn't know how to express it in a constructive way. And, you know, we all have to receive constructive criticism. I know for me, like being Sag rising, the constructive criticism that I've gotten throughout my life has to do with talking like a know-it-all or being condescending. And that's a very Sag ninth house problem. Like a lot of people that have Sagittarius dominant energy tend to do that. We tend to talk that way. It's a very teacher like quality. And I've had friends that are like, well, you talk in this way that makes me feel like you know more than me, or you're condescending, or you've got a teacher voice that I don't like, and so I found avenues to utilize that part of myself in the right way, like teaching a class, doing astrology videos. If somebody comes and asks me for advice, like maybe I will whip that part of myself out. But I try really hard when I'm not in those avenues to be that way, because it can just come off in a shitty way, right? It can just make me sound like an asshole. And so I think that I've taken that criticism and applied it in a way where I'm trying to be mindful of that. And if somebody tells me, hey, when you talk this way, it hurts my feelings, I don't say, well, you shouldn't have your feelings hurt because I can't help it. I say, I'm really sorry. I've definitely received that feedback before. It's something I'm constantly working on. It's not where I'm coming from. I'll try to be better next time, And I think that if we've received criticism from people about anger, and we don't know how to express it effectively, that's our work to do. Like, we have to figure out how to express that. And the reason why I'm bringing up anger so much is because there's certain signatures in this horoscope chart for the Taurus with all these Aries placements, because we've got, again, Vesta, Juno, Venus, Jupiter, Chiron, all in Aries. And Chiron is the wound. Chiron is the wounded healer, and Venus and Jupiter, Vesta and Juno are here to help support building more confidence and strength around, wherever this is hitting in the chart. And so for the Taurus person, the signatures specifically are often related to repressed anger, repressed ambition, repressed drive. It kind of feels like we have that in there, but there's something blocking it to get out. And so this is the time to work through that, is this month of March and Aries season, and you're supported in working through that. And when Mars enters Cancer, it is in that communication area. Mars is the ruler of Aries, and it's in this, sign of Cancer, and it's detriment. And so, we might feel really emotional. It might be misplaced. It might be misdirected, but it needs to come out somehow. And so we might be learning how to let it out, and it might not come out constructively to begin with, but maybe through some of those pitfalls of doing it in this kind of haphazard way, we get feedback and we learn how to do it more constructively. And that's all we can do. All we can do when we're in certain relationship dynamics with people is work on ourselves. And sometimes we can work on something with someone, and sometimes we can't. Sometimes it's not a good match and we got to move on. And so you might be in a month where you're reflecting on those things in yourself, whether you're working them out with somebody else or not. You might just be reflecting with how those things are manifesting for you on a personal level. And the area that it's hitting in the horoscope chart also has to do with the past. So we might be reflecting on our past and how we've handled that stuff in the past. As a Leo, like, constructive criticism is really hard for me. Like, it totally wounds me a lot, but it's some of the best things that have helped me grow. Like, if I wasn't open to other people sharing with me how I was making them feel, or the ways that I needed to improve, I wouldn't be as good at certain things as I am. I still have plenty of work to do on myself for sure, but I think that I owe a lot of the people in my life that gave me that feedback for why I grew and became better in myself. And so I think that while you might not be getting that feedback right now, it might just be an internal journey. It's important to be aware of what's coming up for you in that way, and not fear it, essentially, because then it just gets buried deeper. And so, go find a way to be angry constructively, go assert yourself constructively, own it, and find joy in it, have some fun with it. And that new moon in Aries that hits on the 21st with Mercury in Aries, Mercury is going to be conjunct that new moon. Not exact, it's within 5 degrees, but it's going to be there helping you assert, you know, so setting those intentions for more confidence in how you express and assert yourself is going to be really positive for you this month. All right, Taurus, I spent a lot of time with you this time. I feel like it was necessary. And I also started drinking a third coffee, and it's 4:15, which is dangerous. Good luck. Happy astrological new year, and I will see you next month.